It's Wednesday, September 6th. I'm Matt Harmon. Welcome to Ekeler's Edge, presented by Toyota, part of the Yahoo Fantasy Football Show. It's a hello day to talk ball, and joining me to do just that is obviously Los Angeles Chargers running back Austin Ekeler. Austin, it's week one, buddy. How pumped are you?
Man, it is, as you said, one hell of a day to talk ball. Yes, because it is week one. Yes, finally, we get to get on the field and it actually counts this time, right? The numbers, the stat lines, it's all for real. And I could not be more excited. Coming into year 7, looking forward to obviously playing for my team and helping us. We'll try to win games for your fantasy teams and then for everyone else that relies on me winning games. So I'm excited. It's a great opportunity going into year 7 to continue to show that, hey, I still got it. So looking forward to it.
Well, hey, I think you still got it. I'm very excited about you, obviously, this season. But man, it was last Friday. We pre-taped a podcast that got released yesterday. And that was really the first time I'd looked at the week one schedule. And I was like, damn, we got some bangers here in week one. So I think it's going to be an awesome start to the season. I think it's going to be an awesome start to season 3 here of Ekeler's Edge in the regular season. So let's waste no time. Let's get right into it. It probably feels like a lifetime ago. With the holiday weekend, Austin. I know it feels like a lifetime ago for me, but on our last pod, we did obviously announce and reveal the Ekeler's Edge Invitational League, and boy, did that cause some commotion on social media. For those who need a recap, if you're just now listening, I actually took Austin with the 4th pick in the first round. Austin had the last pick in our 14-team league. Very unfair. Went back-to-back with Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs, 2 rival Raiders, and that caused a fun stir. We talked about the nonsense of draft grades. Austin got an A- for that little cute team he put together, and I got a C-. Austin, as people put to us, that's all behind us now. But most importantly, if you get a good draft grade, you're basically cursed. So congrats on coming in 10th place here.
Hey, well, look, something I always say is, before the season, because people are like, oh, there's a lot of anticipation for this team. Well, it's like, well, paper doesn't play football. Right? Players have to go out and play football. So your draft grade isn't going to play for you every single week. Your players are. So, it's a little thing that, I got a little a taste, a little smell of the perfume of the cologne, and, it smelled good for the moment. But now it's time to actually go out there and see what our teams can do. I'm excited. But, I'm happy about my team. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, the projections are coming out. We see how that is. We'll get into that later on. But right now where I'm sitting, I'm like, okay, I'm confident that we have the players in place that can make plays and actually get us off to a good start. So I'm excited about it.
I'll tell you what, man, the projections. The projections might be even worse than the draft grades, and that's saying something. Look, I know a lot of work goes into the projections, but yeah, you're right. We'll get into that in just a second. Austin, you play JJ Zacharyson, I'll say one of my closest friends in the industry. He hosts a great show, the Late Round Podcast. He puts out a great draft guide. He made his bones, Austin, by basically like back when everybody was just taking quarterbacks in the first round of their fantasy league in like 2010 and 2011, JJ came out with the late round quarterback theory, which is like now just standard nomenclature in the biz. So he's legit. He is who you're playing in week one. You are currently projected to beat JJ. Again, projections. Give me a break. You've got, as we mentioned, the 2 Raiders. You got your boy Justin Herbert. You got DeAndre Swift. We'll see what his usage is like. On the other side of this, JJ's got Jared Goff. He's going to play on Thursday night. Do you feel like a little disrespected that JJ thinks he can just start Jared Goff against you and like coming with this whole win here? Because there's some interesting players here. Drake London, Christian Kirk, Brian Robinson from the Commanders, Dalvin Cook, Mark Andrews, Jordan Addison. I don't know. I think this is a pretty even matchup despite the 54% favorite that you're carrying here into week one.
End up with Jared Goff. We'll see, how that plays out for him. But look, we go into these fantasy projections and things like that, and it's so hard to tell, especially week one. Like, I even know like my projection's like 14 points. And, going back from like last year to this year, like where I started out was like, okay, yeah, that was probably appropriate. Like, I think when I didn't score a touchdown for the first 3 weeks, it was like, yeah, you weren't projected anything probably above that. I was probably projected 12. But then, from week 3 on, I was projected probably like 19, 18 points there for the rest of the season. So These projections, man, I have no idea. I'm looking at my team. I have the whole Raiders offense basically with, Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs. So a lot of my winning potential is probably going to rely on how they do offensively. And then, just looking at the rest of my team, it's a lot of guys that could swing either way of, popping off, or, maybe they were a little bit more under the radar that week. And, I fell victim. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to make excuses. My team's going to get it done. We're going to get it done. Come on. We could beat JJ's team. But time will tell. Time will tell. I don't want to be that. Don't be that guy in your league that's like, well, if I would have had a better draft pick and I would have been up, then I would have. It's like, no. That's not how fantasy works, right? You got to do your due diligence. You got to find people. You got to know based on where you're drafting, what type of players you can get, stuff like that. Don't be making excuses in your league. I've been doing some shout outs for people in the fantasy and announcing their drafts, and there's always one person that's labeled the biggest complainer or always complains at his draft order. And so don't be that guy.
No, do not be the big complainer, making excuses. Oh, this guy's got... Look, the draft is one part of fantasy. This is what the whole draft grade thing. It's like, okay, congratulations. You get your A+ at the draft. There's a lot of other steps that need to take place here, right? You need to be paying attention on the waiver wire. You need to be making trades. I'll tell you what, I'm the worst trader on planet Earth. I'm actually pretty bad about trades. I got a lot going on in my life. Okay? I can't be sitting here.
How do you feel about early trades, early on trades? Is that the time to do it because there's hype and there's, or do you wait? What's the strat there?
The funny people to me are the folks that, and look, if you do this, I'm not talking crap about you. You do live your life. The funny thing to me is the people who right after the draft is over, they start sending out trade offers. It's like, I just put together this team and now you want me to dismantle it? What are we doing here? But later on in our next segment, we are going to talk about week 1 mistakes. That will be a great time to sort of talk about the overreaction. And we can get into that here in just a second. But yeah, trading is a part of it. Waivers are a part of it. And just making this smart in-season lineup decisions, that honestly is the biggest part of it. And that's really the hardest thing. Like you said, what's the difference really between on your team? I'm looking at, you got AJ Dillon in your flex right now. What's his range of outcomes versus Juju Smith-Schuster, right? Playing an entirely different position. Juju's projected for more points, but if AJ bangs in a couple of touchdowns against the Chicago Bears run defense that last year, because we're dealing with week 1, last year was not very good. Again, it's sort of projecting those range of outcomes. That's the best thing that you can do, I think, as a fantasy player.
Right. That's well said. Well said.
Last thing here, just on my team again. Lindsey Rhodes is projected.
Let's look at your team. What's the projections over there, Matt? Let's let the people know.
Lindsey Rhodes is projected to beat me. Colin writes this in the outline. Projected to get crushed by Lindsey Rhodes, 93.89 points to 107.1. Colin, make a note here. I don't have a starting defense yet. Okay, I haven't picked up my defense for the week, so I got an entire position here that's not even getting any points. All right, so let's be clear about that. That the projections. I'm a 42% underdog here. That's nonsense. I mean, it'd be nice if my first round pick was projected for more than 14.76 points.
Yeah.
Don't know what that guy's doing.
I'll work on it, damn it. Okay. I'll do it. Yeah, we got to get that up. We got to get that up around 20 for sure.
Yeah, Austin, I need you. Okay. I need you in week 1. I need to get off to a hot start. So I'll make sure to DM you that about 5 minutes before kickoff when you're really dialed into the fantasy football. Yeah.
I'm reading through those before kickoff if you didn't know. So yeah, thanks.
100%. Well, he was thinking about not trying until he saw those DMs. So I'll be sure to hit your DMs 5 minutes before kickoff. But yeah, so we'll see what happens in week 1 in this particular league. That's going to be fun. Hey, buddy, at least you got the advantage on kicker against JJ. That's for sure. He's got great.
That's right. Maybe my sleeper 8th or 9th round pick. Maybe Justin Tucker's going to come through. I'm telling you, he's going to have a huge year. It's coming through, and it's going to play out. Watch. It's going to win me a game or two. I'm going to tell you.
He probably is. That actually is true.
But please do tell me about this no defense strat. What's going on there?
So I always, if I'm drafting today, we're recording this on Tuesday or, before the couple days before kickoff, I'll take a defense. I'll take a starting defense. Right. But we did this draft a couple weeks ago here. So in that scenario, I don't like to take a defense because really, unless you're taking one of the early ones, it's all kind of like variance week to week. Right. It's, you can stream defenses, just look at the matchups, opposing quarterbacks that are going to take a lot of sacks, that are going to take, typically you want to look for like home defenses that are heavy favorites, because you're going to be looking for those teams that are going to be in advantageous game situations. You're playing, like, for example, I'm looking right now at, maybe picking up the Packers heading into week 1. Not a defense that I would want to draft, but they're playing Justin Fields in week 1, who, taken a lot of sacks in his career. Maybe if this defense gets off to a hot start, that's one I could pick up. But I like to take these guys like Jerome Ford, who I took in this draft, who's the Cleveland Browns backup running back, sort of just like a flyer. Let's just say Nick Chubb decides right before week 1, this is a very low percentage chance. He's not going to play week 1, or he's not going to, he gets injured, something like that, like Cooper Kupp, right? I have Van Jefferson, one of the backup Rams receivers. So I want to kind of carry these upside flyers, because if I go ahead and drop Jerome Ford before week 1 and just pick up a defense now, what's the big difference there? What did I lose in that situation?
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. There's levels to this. There's
just
levels. And Matt is at the top level. Matt don't care about any defense. He's looking at matchups. All right. I love that. I need to start using that strat, because I just have my Cowboys, and I'm like, I'm going to be riding or dying with the Cowboys defense. It's like they're a solid defense, but there might be a more advantageous, matchup that I could pick up later in the week. That's great.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, I think the Cowboys are a team you could probably just ride with all year long. But like the New York Jets are a great example, where they have a really good defense. But do you really want to be playing their defense week 1 in a primetime game against the Buffalo Bills? Probably not. So, playing like which quarterbacks are you trying to target here is really the game
stuff,
with defense.
Well,
that's what it's all about. All right. So speaking of the Ekeler Invitational League, it's a good transition here to the Ask Austin Mailbag. Like I said, we got a lot of your week 1 overreactions, because that is something I want to hammer to people. We want you to be patient here in week 1. But before we get to that, Austin, you did ask for some help naming your fantasy team, because right now you're just Austin Ekeler's team, which, okay. I mean, I'm Matt Harmon's team, and I'm not changing mine. All right. That's just going to be what it is. I'm not a good team name or any of that. So, actually, no, you're just Austin's astonishing team. And I would say this team is solid, not astonishing. So let's relook at some of these.
When do we play each other? Because there's a lot of shade getting thrown back and forth here.
Week 6.
Week 6, we're going to see whose team's more astonishing. That's what we'll see. We'll see it then. I don't want to hear anything you talking about my team until, we get some games in.
Okay. Well, right. as long as my first round pick shows up in a big way against a division rival, I think I'll be doing just fine. But, I'm going to need him that week. So again, the DMs, I will make sure to remind you. So just a few of these highlight ones. Do you see any on the outline here on the list that you like in terms of ones for your name, your team name? I don't want to sit here and read through all of them, but any ones stick out to you?
I wanted to get a genuine reaction, so I haven't looked through them yet. So let me take a little gander here. What do we got? Oh my gosh. Second. And is that second and none? What is that first one?
Second to none. There's a lot of Ek puns in here.
Okay.
So
yeah.
That's pretty good. Upper echelon.
Echelon. Yeah.
That's pretty solid. Metallica. I mean, the guitar theme, that kind of works. That works there.
Metallica. Okay. Gone in 60 seconds. Oh my goodness. Okay, we got some creative people out there. I'll give you that. This is creative.
Yeah, these all come in from Ryan C. I personally liked I'm Too Sexy for this league. That's pretty. Wow. That's a good pun.
Yeah, maybe that's a long name. Maybe we can shorten that in a way. I do like that one.
You can take out the I'm. Just these ones from Daniel N, who really incorporated the Ekeler and the Raiders on your team. Raiders of the Lost X. Obviously, a play on the Indiana Jones film. You could look at, alternatively, he says, Raiders of the Lost Eyebrows, which, of course, obviously is in reference to...
Come on.
He's about to lose this Lions bet.
If you guys don't know, I basically put out a statement saying that if who were the running backs? It was the Lions.
Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, the two Lions running backs.
If they finish in the top 15, I had to shave my eyebrows because I said there's no way. So a little catch up on that one. Yeah. I honestly think I might go with Too Sexy for this league.
Yeah.
It's a good name. I don't like these other ones. Just Austin time. Nah.
I think this one works really well for a couple of different reasons. One, it's clever. So shout out to Ryan C. who sent this in. It's clever. Also, it sort of, puts you above us fantasy dorks, right? Where I'm literally too sexy for this league because one, you're a hell of a handsome guy. I would say that you're no doubt the most ripped person in this league as well. So there's two ways that work. And you're an actual player. So are you better than us anyways? That's a whole other thing.
Awesome. All right. I appreciate you. Who is this? Ryan. Ryan, thank you for all of the, super creative responses. I'm definitely going to use yours. Too sexy. And the E, it's instead of a EXEKSY. Sexy.
There you go.
Yeah, there it is for this league. Nice.
That is the official name of Austin's fantasy football team. We love to see it. Thank you again to Ryan C for that. The main part of the mailbag this week was we asked for your worst week 1 overreactions of fantasy football past. Austin specifically wanted to know if he was involved in any of these, and we've got 3 Austin Ekeler overreactions, starting with Aaron H. Hit the jackpot with this entry that, this just makes you say, oof. So last year, after 3 weeks, so this is early in the season, not specifically week 1, but after 3 weeks, Aaron traded Austin Ekeler and Melvin Gordon, who was obviously playing for the Broncos last year, for DeAndre Swift. Here's how he justifies this in his head. He believed Austin had hit a wall and he wanted a younger running back. Needless to say, I lost the trade horribly. Even worse, I ended up losing in the championship to the guy who I had to trade with Austin.
That's what you get.
Who put up 30 points in championship week.
But hey, Matt, this is a great question though. How long do you wait? Austin, he's my number 1 pick. He hasn't scored a touchdown in 3 weeks. We're going into week 4. Do I try to get value for him because he sucks now? Or, do I believe in him? When is enough enough? When do you put your foot down? And because let me tell you, after 1 week, if I don't score against Miami, you better believe there's going to be a bunch of knuckleheads in my DMs. Mm-hmm. You suck. You're washed up. I need more of you. You're my first round pick. I lost $500 because of you. And here they come, flooding in. And then, comes week 4. Oh, I love you, man. Thank you for all the points. Keep it up. And so I get it. Week to week is how this stuff plays out in the fans' mind. But when is it time to actually give a legit, okay, I'm going to move on or I'm going to trade? Or do you trade? Do you trade players? I'm curious.
So the thing with the trade part is whatever you're doing, even on paper, this trade, Austin Ekeler and Melvin Gordon for DeAndre Swift. I know this is a little bit hindsight analysis because a lot of people were very excited about DeAndre Swift. I was never really the biggest DeAndre Swift guy with that Lions, the next coaching staff who wasn't really a part of drafting him. I think people were overexcited for a role that wasn't really there. This is just, you're trading low at this point. So this is the thing with trades. This is why it's difficult. Everybody else in the league has access to the internet. They are aware that Austin has not started the season great. You think you're cashing in on the name value that is Austin Ekeler as if it's going to get worse. And here's the thing too. You got to keep your expectations somewhat in line here because I get it. You didn't score a touchdown in the first 3 weeks, Austin, and your rushing game logs last year, not to revisit it, were not very good in the first 3 weeks. 14 for 36, 14 for 39, 4 for 5 against the Jaguars when you guys got wrecked in week 3. But you still had 9 catches on 10 targets in week 2. You had 8 catches on 8 targets in that week 3 debacle against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it wasn't as if you were doing nothing, right? It wasn't as if you were just totally getting wrecked if you had Austin on your team. He just wasn't performing those expectations. And then what happens here? Oh, in week 4, he scores 3 total touchdowns. So I think you got to look at it in a way of keeping the expectations in line here before you just cut bait on somebody to start the season.
Yeah, it's tough. And that's what makes, football so great is there's these ups and downs. There's these trenches that you get into where it's man, we got to crawl out of this thing. We're in a slump right now. And the season's not long, but it is long enough to have those where it's like, man, this team's on a 3-game losing streak. They're on a 3-game winning streak, or, hey, this team's not playing as well as they should be right now. Like they're inconsistent. Maybe it's because of injuries. Maybe it's because of, play calling that happened. There's a whole bunch of different factors that can play into this. And, I think you're right when it comes to like, what are the expectations for this player? And then when you're trading, if you're going to trade someone like, myself or someone else that's been proven and continue to do that, you got to keep that into account. And if you're trading for someone, get hydrated. I love how the aquarium matches your shirt today. That's great. That's great. But if you're going to be looking,
looks good.
If you're looking to trade, you got to understand, like, hey, if you're going to trade someone like myself that has been proven, like there always is that potential that they come back and actually do play at that expectation. So make sure you're trying to get some more value if you're going to be trading me after week 3, even if I'm sucking. Just realize that, hey, we go through ups and downs. Not every player has an amazing game every single flipping game. That's what makes the NFL great. Is there are so many other players, that, hey, they had their foot up this day. Austin didn't, but he got beat this day. Oh, but Austin won this next week. Like it's the ups and downs of it, man. And you see all the projections right now. I feel like all the projections really start out low at the beginning of the year, and then now they start to fluctuate ups and downs. And so week 1, I don't want to see, oh, Austin, what this happened? And people freaking out and like, like, y'all knuckleheads. It's week 1. Yes, we want to go out there and win. I want to score 40 points. If it doesn't happen, then guess what? Calm yourself, because this is a long season, and there's more games to be played. And it's not like, hey, all of a sudden I'm going to go hide under a rock and not come back and try to get better. I'm going to do everything I can to get better. And if I do go out there and score 40 points, I don't want to hear this, these people that are hating come back and be like, oh, you're the best, all this stuff. Because look, appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate it. But don't get too high. Don't get too low. Like, let's stay consistent. Let's keep pushing, right? I want motivation. I don't want these people that are bandwagoners. I want people that are like, hey, Austin, appreciate that. Good work. Let's go out there and do it again. And if it doesn't go well, hey, Austin, let's bounce back. Let's get back on track. It's somewhere in that medium. That's what I would prefer. But I know how emotional you guys are, but that's just coming from a player that appreciates fantasy football. And that's what I would prefer to see in my DMs. And, people like Matt are going to be sending me stuff like, hey, Austin, I need 18 points from you this week. Make sure you get it from me. I need 2 touchdowns this week. You can send me that, but I'm not reading that. I'm not reading it.
All right, noted.
Sorry, went on a tangent there.
I will not send you that in your DMs. But I really could use 18 points. No, for real.
Yes,
for sure.
I
think the motive, the lesson here, the takeaway, obviously is number 1, it's a long season. Be patient, but 2, you got to look a little bit. My thing to say to you is that you got to look a little bit beyond the box score, right? Like we got another trade from @FantasyBrains. Someone in their league, not them, so just throwing somebody else completely under the bus, traded Ekeler away for James Robinson after week 3. And I want you to think about range of outcomes here. Like, it wasn't as if Austin was losing playing time to, Josh Kelly or one of the other running backs on the roster. I mean, there were other guys mixing in, but it wasn't like, oh, Austin's about to no longer be the team's starter. But a guy like James Robinson, who did get off to a really good start last year, but like if you look at some of the deeper metrics like success rate and like consistency down to down, you always bring up the consistent part of it. He was a little bit like boosted by big plays, boosted by the 4 total touchdowns. Unfortunately for James, who was coming off an Achilles tear and had another running back in his backfield in Travis Etienne, who was a former first-round pick, who was maybe going to be nipping at his heels a little bit. They eventually traded James Robinson completely off the roster to the New York Jets. So that looks really bad in hindsight, but I think there were warning signs that you were selling low and buying high there. You were selling low on a guy like Austin, maybe buying a little too high on a guy like James Robinson. So I want to quickly just run through a few of these other kind of like week 1 nightmares and sort of give the people some sort of help on how to navigate week 1 this year. First submission we got was at JLauren80 on Twitter. They sent in Kevin Ogletree. A lot of people sent in Kevin Ogletree, Austin. Week 1 superstar in 2012. He sent in the picture of his box score. It was pretty outrageous just when you because I remember Kevin Ogletree in week 1 in 2012. 11 targets, 8 catches, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns. The guy topped 60 yards one more time the entire year. The next game, he had one catch for 26 yards. And again, this is where I say, like, you've got to look past the box score a little here, or like, the total fantasy points. Because if you actually look at the usage from that game, I pulled this up on Pro Football Focus. The guy was 4th on the team in routes run. So could you have said, like, this is a little fluky, right? Like, they have Des Bryant, who's a proven star. They had Miles Austin, who I forgot how good Miles Austin was at that point in his career at the Cowboys. They had Jason Witten, a future Hall of Famer at tight end. Like, was Kevin Ogletree really going to have those games? Probably not very often.
Right. You know what I think we need to start? We need to start like a Matt Harmon knows, like the trade whisperer, and you pay your $5 and you have him, analyze your trade for you, and he can tell you kind of on the metrics using your reception perception. He's giving you the breakdown of it, and he's like, yes, this is a good trade. No, don't do this. I think people find value in that. I don't know. I'm just saying the way you break it down is money. I love it.
Maybe we can do, since we've talked clearly about like the first 3 weeks of the season, at the very least for this show, maybe like the mailbag going into week 3, we do like a grade your trade type of segment or something like that. I think that would be a good one. We could do it at like different tent poles of the year. Like, all right, Colin, pin that so that I don't forget, because I'm definitely going to forget after 5 seconds here.
Right.
Last few ones I want to run through. These are more of the I want you to be patient ones. At Craig, I can't read that last name, is what it is. Sorry, Craig. But he said, last year I drafted Dameon Pierce, was all in. Then after week 1, his usage was gross. I was reading a lot of analysis about getting off him ASAP. He panic traded him for Brandon Ayuk. I don't know if I hate that trade that much, but Dameon Pierce did go on to run for 939 yards on 220 carries, 30 catches, 5 total touchdowns in 13 games. He was very good. This one, at ES Aaron C, I dropped Justin Jefferson after week 2 of his rookie season. Austin, this is a great case about being patient, because Justin Jefferson, he wasn't really playing a full-time role in those first 2 weeks of his rookie season. 5 catches, again, not playing a full-time role. Of course, then week 3, he starts the game, 7 catches, 175 yards at a touchdown. He goes on to break records. So especially with these rookies, man, these two guys, Dameon Pierce and then Justin Jefferson, we just talked about, rookies especially, you have to exercise patience with these guys.
Yes. Not only in fantasy, but also in the actual locker room as well.
Right.
Like it's just part of going through these growing pains as a rookie. You're trying to figure out the speed of the game. You're trying to get comfortable. You're going from college to the NFL. Now you're getting paid. Now there's a bunch of extra pressure that you didn't have, right? Where before you were a senior and you knew how everything went. Now you're back to being, the new guy on the block. People are, yelling at you, DMing you about fantasy. You have no idea what the heck this even is. You're trying to learn a playbook. You're around guys that have been in the league for 10 years, 7 years, 4 years that you're competing against. So there's all this knowledge that you don't necessarily have and don't know how to deal with. So yeah, rookies for sure. I would 100% agree. And then I think that's something that's great to follow throughout the year too. It's like, I'm so excited for these rookies, even the guys on our team, Quentin Johnston. Like, let's see how this kid, goes out here and performs. Like, he's got all the tools, but, is he going to catch up with it mentally? And we'll see as it goes week to week, because that's what it comes down to. We talked about it before on the show. It's like understanding, even getting in zones or having a plan versus man. When we're checking different types of plays against different types of defenses, are you on all the checks? Or are you messing up? Like, all of these things play into, being a pro. And, obviously I've been around for a little bit. So week 7, like, these things are like secondhand nature for me, but for a rookie, it's like, I have to learn all this stuff and be able to adjust on the fly. And the faster you can do that, faster you can play, the better, you're going to be off on the long term. So yeah, that's just my perspective from these rookies. And, a lot of times, it takes, I think, a while for them to earn the trust of coaches too. And so they might not be getting as much, of a playing time that you're expecting them, but because coaches kind of, hey, let me put this guy in here, see how he's doing, and just get his feet wet. And as that person continues to build trust, or maybe even goes the opposite way, they might, lose reps or might not have as big of a rookie season. They might have a bigger rookie season than expected based on the trust. There's a lot of value in who do coaches trust on the field? And then also, on the offensive side, who does quarterback trust to throw to as well? And so we'll see that play out. And I've seen that play out so many different times. When people get injured, it's like, you have a backup that's running the right routes, but they're not getting the ball. They're just not throwing the ball to that guy.
That's great insight, though, because I think it's so true. Even those of us on like the outside in the media, we get super gassed up about these rookies from May to like August, right? And I think Quinton's a great example. Who, you're right, we talked about him on the show a couple of weeks ago, where it's like, man, the Chargers get this guy with all this juice, and like, he made big plays in college, in the Big 12, and like he was great on this team TCU that made this awesome run, right? Like he's exactly what they need. And then then you get reports heading into week 1. It's like, Josh Palmer is probably the third receiver on this team, not Quentin Johnson. It's like, well, look, Josh, I'm not saying Josh is like a future superstar or anything, or that Quentin Johnson's going to be Justin Jefferson and kill it in his rookie or anything like that. We don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, Josh has been in the system, or not this exact offense, but he's been the quarterback and been with the team for multiple years now. So Sometimes we get a little carried away with rookie fever is what we call it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense, right? It's the new thing on the block. Like everyone's excited. Woo. Yeah. Like our first round pick, he's going to dominate. Well, it's like, slow down. He's still a rookie. And he's got a lot of learning to do. Like if I were to compare myself now to my rookie year, like the knowledge transfer or the knowledge gain that I have now is immensely different. And, as a rookie, I was like, okay, where do I line up? What's my route? What do I run? Like that's what I'm focusing on. But now it's like, okay, what's the structure of the defense? What are the possible checks we can get to? What are the leverages that people are playing? What type of coverage is it? Depending on where I need to, be ready for a one-on-one, or where I need to sit in a zone, or who just got me in man? Is it the D end? There's no linebacker over me. Maybe it's a safety coming down. Like all of these different little factors that play into playing this game at a high level take time to learn. And especially that's why the quarterbacks get paid so much, because especially at the quarterback position, there's so many more little intricacies that you have to know as a quarterback. And that's why having a great quarterback that can physically do it and mentally do it, put it together, that's why they're getting paid $50 million a year, because it's rare that you find that combination. And so, man, it trickles down, but just in general, that's why football is so true. That's why we have to practice so much. That's why we go through all these meetings. And that's what makes the NFL so competitive, and people feel like it's scripted, right? Because people are like these games are so crazy. Like they're so crazy. Why? Because we spend so much time just dissecting each other. And so it makes it like when we're out there playing, it's like, no way these crazy plays happen. But yeah, they happen all the time. And it's super competitive because this is what we do, basically nonstop. And so it makes the games are so tight, and it's back and forth, and it's good on good. And it's just week 1, baby. I'm excited, man. I hope you guys are excited too, because we're finally back. And there's no better feeling than, get back on the grass for real week 1, seeing what your team's made of.
100%, man. I'm so excited. And that's the last place I want to leave the mailbag with today, that we're going into week 1. You have all of these convictions about players. Austin, obviously last year is a great example in the first early part of the season, but it's a little bit of a different type of example than what I want to say here. Again, you go in with some of these convictions about these guys as like breakout candidates. 2 perfect examples we got here. Justin White, VA, thought that Devonta Smith, who was a nice breakout candidate last year, was not going to have a big role alongside A.J. Brown to run heavy offense after you put up a 0-catch performance in week 1. Ooh, Devonta Smith goes on to finish the year as the wide receiver 10 overall. Even an example that really goes to my heart, because this was my guy this year, at Hefe Ely on Twitter, said that he dropped Allen Robinson after a 1-catch, 27-yard performance in week 1. Oh, Allen Robinson just goes on to lead the NFL in touchdowns this year. So sometimes, Austin, it's as simple as, especially at the receiver position, it happens, man. Sometimes, like, people always want to know the answer. Like, what happened to A-Rob in week 1 this year? Like, what happened? I'm like, man, sometimes it just happens. Defenses play too. They get paid to perform. They perform that week. But your guy can still be good the rest of the season. So don't overreact too heavy to week 1. All right, so for next week's Ask Austin Mailbag, we are looking for your best Sunday setups. Week 1, I want to see what you guys got set up for week 1. You can share with us how you watch the games on Sunday. Pictures and videos get bumped to the top because this is a YouTube show as well, and it'll also help Austin and I actually kind of visualize this. How many screens do you have? What, me, I'm trying to see the food setup 100%. Do you have a shrine for your favorite team or player? Like I got my setup here in my office, got a great couch, got 2 screens, maybe this third one I can turn around. So I'm trying to see what you guys got going on. Austin and I are going to react to it next week on the show. So again, it's the Ask Austin Mailbag askaustin@yahoosports.com, or you can share with them on social media here too. Twitter, X, whatever, Instagram, our accounts. Probably Twitter's a little easier to tag both of us. At Austin Ekeler or at Matt Harmon _BYB. I'm excited to see these setups, Austin.
I am too. But also, I don't want you to be discouraged if you don't have an amazing setup. Like, I want to see what you got. Like, what are you working with? Like, where do you watch the game? Maybe it's on your phone and you got a little TV stand that you put it on. Like, I kind of want to see the spectrum of what we got out there. I want to see the epic ones, but if you got like, hey, this is how we get it done, and maybe you're at, a gas station that has a TV and you're out here just hanging out there. I don't know. I don't know what you guys do, but where do you guys get it? Get the games in, watching under a table at brunch. Yes, let's call it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whatever, however you got to get it in, I want to see it. I'm excited for these. And so, if you don't have this immaculate setup, like show us what you're working with here. How do you follow all the different games and keeping up with all the team, your fantasy team?
Well, again, we're all excited for week one. We're especially excited, Austin, because we're transitioning to the real games, like we said. So, all right, Austin, since we're teaming up with Toyota, we wanted to go under the hood of training camp and dive into what it takes to get ready for the NFL season. So this week, Austin, we're asking, what is the prep, planning, and transition for an actual NFL team and actual NFL player from preseason to week one? What exactly does that first week of prep look like? How important is it to set the routine that you're going to follow the rest of the year? Or is it really, I don't know, nothing like that? I'm super curious about this, especially for somebody like you who you're an established star and your team doesn't even really play any of their starters in preseason. So what does that prep look like?
Yeah, so I'll make it quick for the preseason because we're kind of past that. But preseason, when you're playing other teams, really they're not going to show you any of their exotic things, or their like true identity. It's going to be like base calls, like very simplified defenses, very simplified offense, really because it's an evaluation just of players going out there and playing football, not necessarily we're trying to scheme up this team. And so with preseason, you don't really get like the preparation that you would get, or you don't go through the preparation that you would do for regular season, which we'll get into that in a second. So preseason, we don't play. We don't play on our team. The starters don't play on the Chargers. And so for us, we are getting, and coach talks to us, he's like, hey, you got to make sure that you're getting, when we have pads on, you're getting those simulated full speed reps. And obviously you can't simulate tackling. Well, we don't simulate tackling. So basically everything else is live besides tackling. So you can still block 100%, right? Like blocking, you don't need to, tackle anybody or anything like that besides cut blocking. We're not doing that to our own guys. And so really it's hard to really simulate as a runner, getting tackled and, taking hits and going to the ground. But for everyone else, the routes, right, coverage, all that stuff is pretty much live. So you don't really lose a lot there. It's really for the people that are running the ball. Like really, I think the running back is probably the position that, it kind of affects the most, just because now you have to use a game to, okay, I'm back in taking full speed hits, right? Lowering the shoulder, running over, like I'm not running over my guys, or stiff arming them in practice type of thing. So our position definitely is the one that needs to catch up a little bit. And as far as the mental preparation, really we're looking at who the defensive coordinator is. That's how you identify what kind of defense to expect. And so for Miami, their defensive coordinator was in Denver last year. And so these are things that we have to know as players and as coaches. So like I'm watching film on Denver, but preparing for Miami. And then I'll still watch Miami to get a look at their players, like who's their nickel, who are their linebackers, how do their safeties play, what's their defensive front do? Are they guys that shoot gaps, which are guys that are upfield, or the guys that play like a two gap, which means they're just kind of hanging on the offensive lineman and kind of like peeking back and forth across. And all that plays a difference into how I prepare, what types of runs we want to run, who do we want to run out? Do they have what we call werewolves? With these people that are just like, oh my God, don't run that way because that guy's a freaking werewolf, run the other way. We're checking away from that guy. So there's a lot more that goes into it when it goes into regular season, and we kind of break it down by day. So we'll have a first and second down day. We'll have a red zone day. We'll have a short yardage day. We'll have a 2-minute segment somewhere in there. We'll practice our end of game, kind of things that come up every once in a while, Hail Mary, stuff like that, sideline drills. Every single day is broken down into segments, and segments based off of, what we think we're going to expect. However, sometimes you get to the game and you get a whole new different defense and you got to adjust on the fly. It doesn't happen often because these coordinators typically have their own flavor that they like. But you'll see a little change here and there from every single coordinator every single week. They don't like to be super predictable. But they'll have their base defense that they play, and then they'll throw in flavors. And so it's kind of interesting, but it's fun. And at this point, going into year 7, I've seen it all, I feel like. And now it's just, a matter of like, who's the defensive coordinator? Okay, we know what to expect this. I know, like with Denver, they're going to be chipping me, in the pass game. Like, they're not just going to let me free release out of the backfield. Their DNs are going to come hit me, and they're going to, guess what? They're going to probably lose some pass rush from that. But they're going to try to, affect me catching the ball out of the backfield. And so things like that none of y'all even know about, but us going into it, right, to make these games seem a little bit more competitive, we're preparing for all of that stuff. So there's a lot that goes into it. But as a competitor, you love it because you're trying to always get an edge.
Number one, I'm definitely taking werewolves. That's good. That's a real good one in terms of the chaos creator on just right. a nightmare to run at on the defensive side of the ball. Also, though, I think what we talk about with the dramatic transition from practice reps to real live game reps, that could be a part of what we talked about in the last segment, where it takes a little minute sometimes for these things to start catching up because it's a long season.
Yeah, for sure. And so I might come out there and it's like, dang, well, why does Austin look like that? Well, the man hasn't got tackled since Jacksonville last year. Jacksonville's the last time I got tackled. So, my body's, still adjusting. Yeah, I've been practicing, but no one's really been taking me to the ground. So I haven't been going through those simulated, movements and things like that. So you got to adjust on the fly. You got to be a pro. And so if we want to, prioritize health and safety, which coach does, obviously, then he's like, hey, you're going to have to deal with it. You're going to have to adjust and you're going to have to be a pro and figure it out. And so I definitely am prioritizing my health and safety because I want to be able to make it through the entire season because, we know the games at the end of the season matter the most. And so if I'm going to make it all the way to there, I want to definitely limit the hits that I'm getting, at the very beginning.
Hey, if there's one theme of the podcast, it's very zen heading here to week 1. Patience. Try to stay grounded and try to be patient. All right, that was great. Thanks for going under the hood with us, Austin. And thanks again to our friends at Toyota Racing. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, our final segment, and you guys are going to love this one as we head into week 1. All right, Austin, for Ekeler's Edge this year, we're going to take our analysis to another level when looking ahead to the weekend slate of games. So for week 1, I think it's a great time. We're going to just highlight the top 5 matchups we are most excited about from a running back perspective this weekend. We actually took a little bit 2 different approaches here. You went with 2 running backs in the same game that you're excited. For my top 5, of course, I went the matchups perspective, the big fantasy dork matchups. That's what I'm excited about. I'll go over my top 5. I want to just get your thoughts on any of these players that stand out to you, and then we'll do the same with your list. So my top 5 matchups that I'm most excited to see from a running back perspective this week. Number 1, J.K. Dobbins versus the Houston Texans. We have talked an awful lot, Austin, on this podcast with the other bros, how excited we are about the Baltimore pass game, but I kind of think that J.K. Dobbins has gotten a little bit slept on here. He's not a perfect run out from a fantasy perspective, but was super efficient last year on the ground, and now is another year removed from an ACL tear. I do think that Houston's defense is going to be better this year, but they don't exactly have the horses to stop an efficient run game. So I could see J.K. Dobbins having a big week 1. Number 2, Travis Etienne at Indianapolis. This is a guy that I think was a little bit overthought. Tank Bigsby, a rookie, is supposed to come in and take a bunch of his work. But what did we just talk about rookies earlier? I could see Travis Etienne having a huge week 1 at Indianapolis. Isaiah Pacheco on the Thursday night opener. I love the way this guy plays. Detroit's run defense, we'll see if they've improved from last year. But I just think there's a chance Pacheco brings such a valuable dimension to this team that we know is a great passing team. But is he the physical dimension they need on the ground? I can't wait to see. Number 4, James Cook at the New York Jets. Should be a tough run defense, but I really drafted a lot of James Cook this year as a potential second-year breakout. So I want to see if he gets that full workload like I'm imagining. And last one, Alexander Mattison versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay has been a great run defense the last few years. We'll see if that holds up. But really, I'm just looking forward to seeing Mattison, who, when they moved on from Dalvin Cook, they gave Alexander Mattison a nice little contract to return as the starter here after being the backup, the understudy for the last few years. Could Mattison come out and prove them right in week 1, or are people going to be kind of looking ooh, should they sign a veteran? I don't know. Those are 5 guys I've got my eye on in week 1.
I like it. And just there's some overlap between what you said and what I have. And I kind of went with like a head matchup with like, okay, what running backs are going head to head. And one that I'm really excited about is the Cowboys and Giants game. Because obviously those are the two guys, that are in the whole slosh of, contracts and stuff like that. But two guys that are back with their team and ready to go out there and prove that, hey, they're worth something long term. And so that's, Tony Pollard and obviously Saquon Barkley. And another perspective too that I would love to give is, as a running back and just as any football player, but really when you look at people at your own position, like you're really rooting for guys. You want guys to go out there and do well, because guess what that does? It shows that, hey, yeah, my position makes a big impact, and look at the potential that can come from having a good player in this position. And so I'm rooting really all of these guys on, even guys that we're playing against. Yeah, I want us to still beat them, but I'm like, yeah, like I want everyone to flip it at the running back position, go out there and continue to ball out. Another matchup I'm looking forward to is the Broncos and Raiders matchup with Josh Jacobs and Javonte Williams. Looking forward to Javonte Williams coming back. It's also a division. It's also a division game, so you want to see how these guys come out swinging. First game of the season in the division. Get a little preview of them, and then some of the younger backs with the Jets and the Bills, with James Cook, and then also Brees coming back off of injury. It's both guys going into their second year, but leading the way for their running game. So looking forward to that one. And then the last one, there's all this hype around Bijan Robinson, and so. Let's see it. All right, let's see how this guy does. Falcons and the Panthers. We know Miles has solidified himself and been there, and so we'll see if he can continue to do that. But really looking forward to see Bijan come out there and have his debut.
Yeah, that last one from you is a great one. One of the things my longtime mentor from Football Guys, Sigmund Bloom, always used to call like week one is the grand reveal. Like we've been talking in hypotheticals, and Sanders fits into this too. First year with the Panthers, like, oh, what is his role going to look very different in Carolina than he used to in Philly? But Bijan's the big one, man. Like, yeah, a lot of hype on this guy. And from a usage perspective, are they going to get him in these like creative passing game looks that people have theorized about, or there's been like little hints about? Like, that's what I'm really looking to see. So I love that last one. That last pick from you is
I
really
can see them using him like almost like Najee's getting used, where it's just like, hey, we're like kind of just forcing the ball to you because of all this hype, and like we think you're this type of caliber player. It's obviously a different type of offense, and Najee was playing with Big Ben when he was there, and obviously wasn't very mobile, so he's getting a ton of checkdowns, kind of like I was with Phillip, early in my career, and it'll be a little different over there, but yeah. I mean, let's see this. Let's see this come together.
Well, I think we are all very excited now for week one. That is going to do it for our show today. Austin, hell of a show. I think we got the people properly excited and gassed up for week one, but also ready to react in a level and, zen type of way.
I would
don't
say,
go to your expectation.
There was a lot of educational moments in this show. So there's definitely a lot of clips we'll be able to pull out there. And, I still think we need to start that Matt knows, Matt, the trade whisperer, it's a thing, bro, that people would value that opinion of yours in that big brain that you've been dedicating to fantasy football, and seeing what type of trades they should be doing, if it's a good one, if it's not. Maybe it's something for perception. You never know. It's a little subscription. There you go. Something to add to the subscription. There you go. Yeah, we love to see. We'll definitely at some point in like 10 poll moments of the season for the mailbag, we'll do like a grade your trade type of segment. We can get Austin's thoughts on it. We can get my thoughts on it. It's going to be great. Again, for now, that's it for this show. Tomorrow is Thursday, heading into a full slate of NFL action. You know what that means. It's back. One of my favorite shows that we do. It's Dalton Del Don joining me for another season of Stat Nerd Thursday, baby. We give you one stat that you need to know for every single team heading into week one. We're going to do it every single week. Until then, we're out.